Hiya, folks. I hope you're well. So, today, yes, I went down to town today because I had to go and get some custard. Yeah, I'd run out of custard. Well, I got pudding, so I ran out of custard, which was highly rude. So, yes, I went down and got some. And as I was walking down, there's a church on the way down there, Pesticle, something like that church. And they were doing an open afternoon, so I went and spoke to some people there. At one point, I spoke to someone about the fact that I've met the young lady, the Latvian Oksana, I think her name is, and she said about her being banned from church. I said, "But I've been banned from church." And I said to him, I said, as I was saying to Oksana, I said, the reality is, if you've been banned from church, great. You've been incredibly blessed. That wasn't the intention of the people banning you to bless you, but you have been incredibly blessed. Because now the only one you can go to is God. And when all you can go to is God, you go to God. And when you go to God, you learn. You learn and you grow. Your relationship with God improves. And people in church stagnate, but your relationship with God improves. Yeah. People in church, what they want is, or what they've got, and they've got what they wanted. What they've got is something incredibly shallow. They've got a church incredibly shallow that doesn't go deep. Because the problem with going deep is, when you go deep, you can give people ammunition to use things against you. And I've had that. When I've shared with people, yes, people have used what I've shared as a way of hurting or trying to hurt when they could. Jeff Oakes did it, other people have done it. Yeah, that's the reality. It's people doing what people do. Right? Because it's in the nature of people. So therefore, people in church know this. And so they keep things very shallow. They have shallow fellowship. They have very, very shallow worship, very, very shallow faith, very, very shallow understanding and wisdom and knowledge. All basically skin deep. They have what they wanted. They have a faith that's never going to test them. Because they chose never to be tested by their faith. Never to test their faith. They chose to have an understanding of God that is pure faith. Not knowledge, understanding. Because you're supposed to go from faith to knowledge to understanding. You're supposed to have faith in that. Then you're supposed to believe in it because you've tested it, so therefore you know it's true. Now you've got knowledge. Then you learn how, which gives you understanding. In church, they never learned to get knowledge or understanding. They're stuck in faith. I said to another person now, well, another two, I said the problem with church is the church has designed or has been designed where it's basically keeping the people of God as spiritual babies. That's what they do. That's their level. Spiritual babies. And because I said to him, look, I understand it. In a church, I spoke about their church. I said, in your church, you'll have people who through the years have been at different levels of maturity in their walk. But churches aren't catered for that. They're not able to deal with those people of a certain maturity in a different way to how they deal with the other people of different maturities. Therefore, they have to cater for one level of maturity, and that has to be entry level. Otherwise, the people who come in will never understand and never grow in any way, shape or form. So it has to be based on them. And that's why you've got people that's why it's shallow. That's why you've got people who have that, because their teaching and understanding has never been pushed. Never been grown to another level. Well, as I said, I went to the men's meeting at the Pentecostal church a number of years ago, and it was the one where there was a man talking about the armour of God and how he takes it off every night and sometimes he forgets to put it back on again. And I was astonished at how this man who'd been in the church for years and years and years didn't understand. You can't take it off. If it's on you, it's on you. You can't take it off. It's not clothing. It's described as clothing because people are bloody idiots. So it has to be described in a way that people can understand it, but it's not clothing. And when he looked at the pastor and said to the pastor, "Is that true?" the pastor said, "I don't know." Now, good on the pastor for at least saying, "I don't know," rather than trying to make something up, because some will actually try and make something up and that's not going to help. So, yeah. Well, as I say, it is what it is. There's so many people that, as I say, I've spoken about why the church went where it went. Because if you've been banned from churches and you can only go to God, you learn certain things. One thing that I learned very quickly is that when you ask questions of God, most of the time you won't get an answer. The reason why you don't get an answer is because you're asking the wrong question. God has the answer for you that you need, but you've got to ask the right question to get that answer. That was never something brought up in church. Never. But when you understand that, you understand why people are waiting around for years and years and years for an answer to a question they asked years ago and still haven't got, because they asked the wrong question. Yeah. Oh, we all do that. We've all asked the wrong question. Yeah. And still waiting around for an answer to a question that, yeah. But as I say, when you are in that situation where you can only go to God, then your relationship with God becomes personal. It not only is personal, but you understand it as personal. Most people in church do not understand their relationship with God as personal. They understand their relationship with God as collective, as in God has a relationship with his church. No. Every single human being individually was created to have a relationship with Father God. Individually. To have that personal relationship with God. And so many in church do not understand that. They're missing out so much, they really are. But there you go. That's their choice. They have what they want. They chose a church they wanted and they've got it. They've got the pastors that keep the church exactly where they want it to be. You take care. God bless. I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.